Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? Happy Wednesday. Happy hour. Best ball happy hour. I have found, I don't know about you guys. I have found as we get to the end of best ball season here, the happy hour is needed. It's a much needed time in best ball season to be having happy hour. We're winding down the clock to the season, and good Lord, could I not possibly need the season to get here anymore? I don't know about you guys. My goodness, do I need the season to get here? We are less, we're a week away basically. And I feel like we've been drafting, and I didn't even start that early drafting. Some of you guys drafted so freaking early. I was listening to one of the recent ship chasing drafts. I heard that. This is actually a really funny. So hold on, let me finish my point. I get I get rambling. I was listening to a ship chasing one of their drafts, and they've been streaming all these main event drafts. They're really good, by the way. I'm sure all you guys are already subscribed to the ship chasing YouTube and watching their stuff. But if you're not, you should. And I forget who it was. Somebody was talking about they've been drafting since like literally immediately after the Super Bowl doing drafts. And it's like, even I'm not that big of a sicko, but I have been drafting for so long, which leads me into Trudon's point here. That's like, I feel like I'm getting too robotic and like just locked into, this is where I'm trying to make sure I keep in check how I'm drafting, not making mistakes, not getting overexposed to certain people, especially because I don't know what, I'm drafting less on Underdog right now. I'm going to stream a Best Ball Mania tomorrow. Spoiler, Peter Overzet and I are going to do a stream tomorrow afternoon for a Best Ball Mania 2 drafts. But I've been drafting mostly on Underdog, or on DraftKings. And like these ADPs won't budge. The ADPs won't budge. If anything, the guys I want are falling further. Elijah Moore is falling. Trey Lance is falling now. Trevor Lawrence has an ADP in like the 12th round or something like that. Like all the guys that I like, Visca has gone up a little bit, but Corey Davis has shot through the roof, right? And obviously Gus Edwards and James Robinson and whatnot. But like the guys that I want to draft, Will Fuller still has out on his name, right? He's going to forever have out on his name on DraftKings because he is out for week 1. And I guess that's it. That's what people always say, right? He has an out or he has a Q next to his name on DraftKings or whatever. And so that keeps, I guess that's true. It feels like that shouldn't be true, but I guess maybe that's true. And so to this point, I don't even know, Trudon, if I'm drafting bad or if you're drafting bad, but like I'm in this robotic phase. And the next thing I know, I'm going to have like 45% Will Fuller on DraftKings because his ADP is falling. And I liked him before. I drafted him in like the 8th, 7th round on Underdog, and he's going so freaking late on DraftKings. So I'm getting into this, robotic. That's a weird text. Anyway, getting into this robotic phase that's like I want to, I either need the season to get here, or I did kind of like yesterday take like a woosah moment and just be like, let's take a step back and like remember what our edges are here, what our strategy was. Like when I started drafting in early May, like what your strategy was when you started to kind of figure this thing out. Like some of my May drafts are horrible. Early May drafts are really bad. Like I'm embarrassed of them. But like once I started to figure out like a plan of attack, like remember that and don't punt off these last teams because you're like, because this grind has gotten to you type of thing. You know what I mean? What's up, brother? The season needs to be here. Good Lord. I mean, yeah, We just talked about it a bunch, but that's absolutely how I feel, and I have a lot more drafts to do. I feel like I need to catch a second wind. That's what this is good for. That's what this whole happy hour thing is good for, because I feel right now like the season needs to get here so bad. But like this helps me refresh, just shoot the shit with you guys. Let me see here. I'll come back to you, Jack. 1 second. I feel like I figured out the best ways I like to draft, and it's very that's how I feel too. And I don't even know that it's I have figured out the best ways to draft. It's I have gotten into maybe too comfortable. That was just a little Tennessee honey, and now I'm moving on. I knew somebody would ask. We're moving on to own the libs. It's September now. It's football season now. So I'm drinking pumpkin. It's about 95 degrees outside, but I got a pumpkin beer. It's delicious. I don't care what anybody says about pumpkin stuff. My wife is huge on like the seasons. Gets really excited for fall to get here. Gets really excited. She probably doesn't get excited for football. I know she doesn't get excited for football to get here. But so we got pumpkin. Pumpkin season. 100% pecan. This is what I'm talking about. 100% pumpkin season. Damn right, Nick. See, you guys aren't too bad. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you guys don't know what you're talking about, because But the funny thing about the pumpkin beer is that this local brewery, I'm in St. Louis, Schlafly is this local brewery. They have my favorite pumpkin beer, and they only do it, like most places, they only do it for a couple months out of the year. And so they'll release it to the local liquor stores and grocery stores and stuff like that. And like, it's like impossible to find at a certain point. Once everybody else starts to like get into the mode of it's fall and it's pumpkin beer season, then you can never find it. So I get it early, right? It's 100 degrees outside, but the pumpkin beer's out there. Let's do it. I mean, I sit in my house all fucking day anyway. I work from home and I talk about football with you guys. So like, what's the difference for me? It's football season for me. So like, you know what I mean? Let's see. Yeah, I do like New Belgium. I have not had the Atomic Pumpkin. Oktoberfest. Yes. Now we're turning this in. This is now Spike Week, the drinking podcast. Spike Week. If you need beer recommendations, you can follow me. They joked about it. It's really funny that we're doing this because they joked about it on the Swolecast earlier. I don't know if you guys watched the Swolecast on Roto Grinders. They joked about the drinking thing, and they joked about like Untapped and stuff like that. Let me double back. This one was a good one. This is a little bit of where I am now. This question, I'll read it. I had the same problem. I get Will Fuller in every draft. I assume on DraftKings because I have him, 2 tiers ahead of the people that he's going around. And like, what do? Am I supposed to stop taking him? Kind of. Depends on where your exposure is and where you feel comfortable. Like I'm definitely I actually don't have a ton of Will Fuller on Underdog. I definitely draft him on Underdog, but I don't have like a ton because he did like really like the market corrected on Underdog on Will Fuller like fairly quickly. And so like he's in a range where I like other guys too. So I do take him, but I don't, I'm not just like jamming Will Fuller on Underdog. I actually don't have a ton. On DraftKings, he's like a stand. I was just taking, like I just have a ton. And I think all he has done is fall in ADP. It's like close to 110 now. He's literally in the 10th round. If you want Will Fuller in the 10th round, he's there in like every DraftKings draft, which is just absurd. And so I've had this kind of come to Jesus moment too, where I'm like, I cannot have my entire season riding on Will Fuller as much as I love Will Fuller. on one site. And so, I have a ton. He might be my highest owned player, I think, on DraftKings. It was Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore used to go in the 150s in ADP on DraftKings. That has shot through the roof because we finally corrected that. I think you guys, the Spike Week people, corrected that because I remember when I moved over from Underdog to DraftKings, like to primarily draft on DraftKings for a stretch, I was just smashing Rondale, and a lot of you guys came over with me, and we were all just smashing Rondale. And now he's still a really good value, I think. But like before, it was like take Rondale in every draft, he's going to shoot up. So anyway, I thought the same thing would happen with Will Fuller, and it hasn't happened. And so I'm forcing myself to take other guys in that range because now DJ Chark has fallen to that tier too. I'm going to copyright this moving forward. That's going to be the new project we're going to launch. Once football season gets here, I've been telling you guys we're still going to keep doing this thing, but I lied. We're going to kick that to the curb, and we're going to move on to Spike Drink, the beer connoisseur podcast. Yeah, that's funny. But I think you should be smart about the exposures, which is funny because I talked about, this is it's just stupid. Will Fuller at pick 124. What are we doing? It's ridiculous. And so I think you can make it a stand. Like I'm taking a stand on Will Fuller on DraftKings, just a fact. But it also, if you're playing on some of the other sites, it helps balance it out. And you're going to reach a certain point where you might have a little bit too much of him, and you can always diversify moving forward, but you can't ever retroactively go back and be like, I passed on Will Fuller at pick 124 when I knew I should have taken him. I did want to double back to Jack's question. I don't think so, but I'm bullish on Pitts. I also, I'm a Pitts guy. I'm very on Pitts. I'm actually in the middle of writing a piece on Pitts in terms of a scenario-based upside article where, everybody questions Kyle Pitts as it relates to like the rookie tight end thing. And like, I know his ADP is steep for, just a rookie player in his position, whatever. But I think that, paths exist to where if he really is this unicorn prospect, everyone agrees on this thing, right? He is the unicorn of all unicorn tight end prospects. In my opinion, he's really just a wide receiver. We're calling him a tight end because he kind of is, as a prospect and in college, but also Florida just threw the ball all over the place. Anyway, to me, in Atlanta, especially with the game scripts that they're going to be going through, I think he's basically a wide receiver you get to play at the tight end position in fantasy. And so if you like Kyle Pitts, like I like Kyle Pitts in your season long league, like if 402 is a little too steep, you think, I don't know the season long ADPs off the top of my head, but like if that seems a little too steep or whatever, I think you can make that leap in your season long league, especially because I'm not saying that I'm sharp, but all these other people here are sharp. If you're talking to all these guys in the Discord and all that frequently, if you're doing basketball drafts to where you're pretty comfortable with how to draft, I think you can still beat your opponents, even if that's not a good quote unquote value for Kyle Pitts. If you want Kyle Pitts, take him in the fourth and then beat probably T. Higgins goes too late in those drafts, right? Jamar Chase is probably plummeting. Laviska Shenault isn't valued where he should be in your season, in your home, your buddy's home league or whatever. So you can still win by taking some detours that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable doing on Underdog, as an example. How many drafts after you catch your? How many drafts after you catch your second wind? Like, how many drafts do I have to do after I catch my second wind? It is unfortunately over for Colin Johnson, I think. Pour one out for old Colin. I do feel good about Tyron Johnson. I mean, I think obviously we would have preferred that Tyron Johnson won the third wide receiver job in for the Chargers. So I think that looks good for Josh Palmer now. But I think Jalen Guyton is going to play. So I'm not going totally nuts on Josh Palmer, but I do think he's a value. I would feel good about my Josh Palmer shares if I have them. But Colin, I think it's coffin. I think it's over. It's a tough scene. At least he's on a team, I guess. Just like that's what we have to remember. At least he's on a team. In redraft, is it okay to have 2 QBs to play matchups? Yeah, absolutely. Who? Oh, okay, I get it. You have Hurts, but you don't want to play Hurts against the Niners in week 2. So you plan on using Mac Jones against the Jets. I think that's totally fine. By the way, the Jets defense, I don't think it's getting enough hype. So I'll probably pump a little bit of my DFS stuff, which we did announce today. I'm doing all my DFS work per usual and a little bit more actually this year on Roto-Grinders. And so using this as a perfect segue to say, come watch Roto-Grinders DFS shows during the NFL season. However, I don't think it's going to get enough hype early on in the season. And I could be wrong, and they shock us. But I think we're going to see in the first couple of weeks of the year, the Jets defense is really bad. Really, really bad. So I totally agree on targeting them. I'm not sure Mac is my total favorite guy to do that with because I might just destroy him on the ground, but I get the premise. Yes, smash the like button. I'm trying to avoid all the typical streamer. Like and subscribe. Thumbs up, dude. The problem with JaMycal Hasty versus Elijah Mitchell is that Jeff Wilson's eventually going to be back, and I worry about him. He's actually the third running back. Which could be wrong, but that's my concern with that. Oh, yeah. Absolutely wheels up. When you pick at the turn and you get Ridley and then get Pitts coming back, it's just beautiful. I love it too. That's interesting. Marquez Colston, that's a name I haven't heard. Hayden probably doesn't even know who Marquez Colston is. To make the Josh Norris age joke. But to Hayden's point here, so true. And not even necessarily double-digit rounds. That's what I felt. I think it's the past the elite tier. Everybody knows the first 3, maybe. I would probably call it the first 3, maybe the first 4 rounds of wide receivers. So that like after Allen Robinson, there's like a tier break, basically. Whatever you think about Amari, I guess. But like you get Amari and the Bucks guys and the Rams guys and the Bengals guys and DJ Moore, Thielen. You get this tier there that's just like you could lump all those guys together, but it's a tier break after Allen Robinson. Once we get past Allen Robinson, I think from there through like these early double-digit rounds, through like Terrace Marshall and Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis is up, but that tier of guys, I think we can just destroy our season-long home league, opponents in those tiers. And so I don't feel bad I actually would prefer to get an elite tight end. Maybe if you want to even detour for an elite quarterback, I still kind of personally prefer like the Fields Lance thing. But like if you want to like go get Josh Allen or go get Kyler or whatever, and then go get Pitts or go get Kittle or Kelsey, you're just still going to crush in my opinion, you're going to crush your league at the wide receiver position and all those other rounds. So good Lord, Pitts is 62 overall in PPR on ESPN. If he won't get back to you, then take him. That's my thing. If he's your guy, elite tight end. I agree. And if you like Pitts, I would take him. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Now this is Spike Week, the season-long podcast. Spike Week from Best Ball. Best Ball is over, and then we did the drinking podcast, and now we're on to the season-long podcast. But I agree, like T. Higgins, go. Get as your 5th, 6th wide receiver. These guys are 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round picks in home leagues. It's ridiculous. Agreed. This too. I don't want to get into all the DFS stuff just yet, but like Elijah Moore is $3K on DraftKings to start the year. Corey Davis is still on like 4,500, 4,600. Zach Wilson is $5K. I will say, I don't know yet what I think. Obviously, I'll be giving my takes on rotogrinders.com. But the Panthers defense is very interesting. Ben Gretch at Yardsburg on Twitter has me a little bit hyped on the Panthers taking a step forward on defense. And so I don't know yet what I'm doing with that game, but I like that. Yeah, Trey Sermon is definitely going to the moon. And I got Trey Sermon. I assume this was to Marquez Colston, which is really funny. Trey Sermon, I hope, is going to the moon because I took him in my first home league auction as my RB2. Ah, yes, I see. Yep. I'm not saying that that's exactly what Kyle Pitts is, but I really think he'll play in line a little bit in real life, right? But like, he's the second. I assume Calvin Ridley is better than him because Calvin Ridley's pretty damn good. But like, so he's the second best player. He's probably already one of top pick a number, offensive weapons, pass game weapons in the league. Like, they're just going to want to have him out wide doing work in the passing game. Like, you don't draft Kyle Pitts to have him in line on a bad team, giving up a lot of points and blocking. And when you have Hayden Hurst, you just don't do it. And so I think he's basically a wide receiver. Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. Who are your favorite 2 to 4 players to throw out early in auction drafts to get the league mates to spend their money? Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. This too. Probably overvalue like Aaron Rodgers. Probably overvalue like Aaron Rodgers types, Tom Brady types. And undervalue. I think the elite quarterback rushers are probably appropriately valued because now we got those guys. We got evidence that Josh Allen is a stud, Kyler's a stud, Lamar's a stud, whatever. But Lance, Fields, even Lawrence is a lot better runner than anyone ever gives him credit for. Hurts, right? Those guys. Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous. Spike Week, the Home League podcast. I think this is fair, Alan. I think this is fair. I think it's obviously the fact that we've seen Callaway not only just like look like a straight up baller in this small limited sample of preseason, it's also that he's commanding targets at like a truly absurd level. Like if Corey Davis wasn't doing what Corey Davis is doing in terms of Corey Davis drew a target on like 75% of his routes, Marquez Callaway is like drawing as many or more targets than Michael Thomas would draw on the Saints and balling the F out on them. Absolutely balling out. And so I think it's a little bit warranted. I think that everyone was too low on Marquez Callaway before. Admitting full bias that I have a lot of late round Marquez Callaway because I thought he was pretty good. But we kind of have seen what Traquan is. And I do think Traquan is a capable player. But I think there's just a level of ceiling to Marquez Callaway that he's kind of flashed us that Traquan doesn't have in his bag. You know what I mean? Thank you. Everybody's like, okay, how do I find the next Darren Waller? How do I find the next Travis Kelce? Wait, you got gifted him in the 4th and 5th round. He's what did Darren Waller? What are his combine numbers? Yeah, he probably didn't go to the combine. I know he's a converted wide receiver. Darren Waller 40 time. Too many pumpkins. 4.43. Okay, Jesus. Okay, how Pitts is Darren Waller? Because I know Pitts are in 4.49, 4.44. Yeah, I mean and I think Hayden, again, you're a better prospect evaluator and like player evaluator. I mean, Darren Waller is a straight up certified superstar, but Pitts is like with the ball in his hands. To me, is better than Waller is. Waller might even be more uncoverable than Pitts in terms of just the tight end position. He is also a wide receiver, just playing tight end. But I think like you could like throw a bubble screen to Kyle Pitts and he can do wide receiver things with it, like elusiveness wise and agility wise that Darren Waller can't do. It's crazy. I mean, these guys are crazy. These guys are crazy. No, Phil, not on Wednesdays. Can I have a break from drafting? I've been drafting for like 24 straight hours for 4 months, Phil. Can we do a stream without drafting one? Jeez. Yeah, I agree with this. Because Calvin Ridley is a baller and Calvin Ridley is good in the red zone, but can you dream of a better player for Kyle Pitts scored touchdowns on like what? Yeah, again, I will screw it up. He had a million touchdowns on very few catches last year at Florida. I mean, Kyle Pitts is a star, and I'm betting on that. And if I'm wrong, I'm totally happy taking that L. I've bet on far worse players to be good. I feel pretty confident betting on Kyle Pitts. Let's see. Panthers definitely should be better on defense. Yeah, Brian Burns and Jeremy Chinn. I just added I play in one dynasty league that has IDPs, and I just this offseason added Jeremy Chinn. That was fun. Brian Burns and Jeremy Chinn will both be Defensive Player of the Year candidates for years to come. I don't know if Jeremy Chinn's going to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate just by the way that award works. However, if you listen to the Sharp Angles podcast, which I highly recommend, sharpfootballanalysis.com, their podcast with Rich Rebar, Dan Pizzuta, and it used to be Clev TA, who is now leaving the site. They were like all on Brian Burns to lead the league in sacks and be Defensive Player of the Year. So handing out some free alpha here. Thank you, Phil. Nick never quits. Nick doesn't get tired. Kevin Gates. Yeah, that helps. Now you guys are all going to draft together. Brian Burns is a freaking stud. I agree. Also, I agree. Waller is awesome, but Waller was not this good when he first came into the league. Pitts is better coming into the league. Let's see. What did I miss? I don't think I missed anything. But yeah, I'm starting to there you go, guys. If you guys want to draft, I'm not drafting right now. I draft all day, every day. If you need to draft, you guys can all draft together. I'll just drink and listen to you tell me who you took. But yeah, we've reached this. I need to recharge. Yeah, also very true. That's what I always find. I like to invite you guys when I'm going into drafts sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes go into the Discord and put in the draft, the draft channel and and invite you guys. But like, I know that I'm just giving up. I know that I'm just giving up EV, asking you guys to join my drafts. It's a terrible decision. But it's good. It's fun for all of us. It's the same thing. I have a good buddy. I don't have a ton of my like close buddies that do best ball, but I have one good buddy who's like maybe more addicted than I am. I don't know. That's not true. It's an exaggeration, but you get the point. That is, and he'll be like, "Hey, do you want to hop in a draft?" I'm like, "Oh, sure." But he does the same thing as me, right? He's a 0 RB guy or a hero RB guy or whatever, and it's like, like, what are we like? We're hopping in a DraftKings draft together because it's fun to draft with your friends or you guys, right? I guess I shouldn't say or you guys. You guys are also my friends, maybe. But like, the point is this site is so plus EV, so let's not get all us plus EV drafters together. But it is more fun. And if one of us wins with a team that we drafted, like if a ship chasing draft wins or a Spike Week draft wins or whatever, that would be so much more fun. That'd be so much more fun. Yes, this is smart. Because all these freaking crazies come together, right? All the ship chasing sickos. Some of you are in here. Phil. Like everybody comes out and wants to draft together because it's fun. It is fun. It's fun to draft, when Pete's making jokes and having a good time and everybody's drinking and whatever. But it's like, what are we really doing here? We want to be in the room with the people who like that want to take Josh Jacobs. I don't want to be in the room where I'm like thinking about Josh Jacobs in the 9th round because everybody else thinks the same thing as me. I don't want to be in the room where I got to take Terrace Marshall in the 7th round. But that is the burden. This is actually and Jack, I will get back because I'm very intrigued by your question. This is how many of you guys have somebody, even just like anybody that is interested in all this stuff, like normal friends or family? Because I don't really. Well, like I said, one guy that I talked to, that's like a actual close friend or whatever. The other people are just leeches that ask me for fantasy football advice, and then bitch when I give them loser picks. Or when I tell them you need to draft T. Higgins, and they said, "Why would I spend a 5th round pick on the wide receiver 2 with the Bengals, you idiot?" And I'm like, my advice is not for you, buddy. Go ask the ESPN guys. Not easy. Not easy. It's very difficult to follow your teams. So I created a spread. I have a spreadsheet where I track. So I haven't drafted all the lower dollar stuff for me. I haven't tracked all of those teams because I don't want to. I was firing so many. I got lost in like the first puppy or the puppy 2 or whichever one it was. When it fills in like a week or whatever, I got so just constantly doing drafts that I wasn't able to keep things up. But when the summer started, I started a spreadsheet that I did a draft and I put my team into the spreadsheet for DraftKings, Underdog, and Drafters. I haven't been able to keep that up for like the $5 and $6 contests, but for the Millie Maker contest and the Big Dog and the 555 and stuff, I have those tracked, and so I find that to be an easier way to keep track of. Obviously in the app, it keeps your status. Like Underdog is a million times better than DraftKings in terms of tracking, but still, if you have a lot of teams, it's hard. You're not really able. You can name your teams on Underdog, right? So that can be a little bit helpful, but it still can be a little bit difficult And so I keep a side spreadsheet to help me. Yeah, I mean, a ship chasing Josh Jacobs goes in the 4th or 5th round of normal drafts, and he's a 9th round pick in every ship chasing draft. And it's like, well, of course I'm not going to take him there because I have a brand to uphold. But it's also like, if I'm ever going to get Josh Jacobs, he makes sense here. But it's the 9th round, and the best wide receiver is fucking Deshaun Jackson. So like, I can't take Josh Jacobs. Yeah, and this is what makes me feel like we're still so early to this thing. Using the NFT or crypto people stuff, like talk about being early or whatever. But that's how I feel about best ball. Like all my friends play fantasy football, all of them, literally. Like everybody plays fantasy football. I mean, last night one of my college buddies is texting me about like who should I take here or whatever in his 10 team standard non PPR whatever league that he's but they all play that. And I think we all realize that best ball is like this just like far better version of that game, and with more money involved, right? And cheaper buy-in fees, especially if you play in leagues like me. Like it's you don't have to right. We all know that it's just a better game. It's like we're still so early. We have multiple $1 million contests. Underdog is handing out totals, millions and millions of dollars total prize pool, and like none of us who are very, very into this thing have anybody that we know that plays. So wait till it makes its way into all those people, which I believe that it will. Tough scene, Phil. Tough scene. I found out my brother is into best ball. Your brother? Okay. The only way you found out your blood brother, your sibling, was into best ball was that you entered the same draft? Alex, how is this possible? Is he like way older or younger? What's going on here, buddy? That feels like an issue. You should talk to my wife. I literally spend my entire day talking about it since May. It's September, in case you weren't counting. I've been doing this for a full-time living since May. And she's probably like, and the season hasn't even started yet. This is one of my buddies. He knows who the leeches are. Good to know. Hayden says we'll add more to help tracking teams. It's good to know. Yeah, this is basically what I did last year. It was like I knew I had week to week when guys are scoring well or aren't scoring well, who you have and who's making it go well for you or go poor. If somebody gets hurt, obviously, like I had a lot of Dak, and so that was really bad. But you have a lot of XYZ, so you get to just like I kind of don't hate it. I kind of don't hate not looking too super seriously close. Yeah, I mean, this is easy is not the right word, but it's simple. This is and also it's not simple from a tech perspective, but simple from usability perspective, like from the user side of things. It's like you just want to be able to go and say, okay, show me all, X player scored 3 touchdowns. Show me all my teams with those guys. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. Okay. That's about enough, guys. I hope she's not watching. She's upstairs. If she knows that you guys think that her jokes are funny, it's going to be a long football season. Long football season. Oh, God. goodness gracious. That's good. Hey man, I hate this damn camera. There we go. Oh man. Yeah. Obviously Underdog is on it per usual of us being able to track things. At spikeweek.com, we're also going to be working on not necessarily quite the same type of thing that Hayden would be talking about, but obviously this first season, all this stuff kind of came about so fast that we're just trying to get the community up and running, get content out, get like super basic rankings and stuff. The whole point is like this community aspect and content and stuff, right? I want to be able to hang out with you guys and talk about this shit. We'll get and then you like what needs to be built, right? Like that Underdog isn't building. And I think, with the resources that we have, obviously with RotoGrinders and everything that we have going on, I'm excited to like, once we kind of get in, let's get through this first draft season and then get into the NFL season and get into the off season. And I think we'll be able to like what we're going to be able to do next year with best ball stuff. I feel like we're going to look back at this year and definitely look back at the past couple of years and be like, how did we survive? And so hopefully we can be a part of that. So if you have any like ideas for different things that you want to build or things that you want to see or whatever, that's in Discord. There's a what did I even call it? Oh, suggestion box. And some people have already dropped some really good stuff in there. Yeah. So the question is, have you ever shared your personal story / background before all the best ball hysteria? I'd be curious to know more about it if you're comfortable sharing. Yeah, absolutely. I have a funny, weird background. So I'm 33, and up till I was about 25, I worked for 25, 26. I can't keep it all together, but I worked for Boeing, and I actually have a finance degree. And just a couple of years into working in finance at Boeing, I pivoted to like IT project management. I got really into like data analytics, business intelligence type stuff. And I moved over into like a project management role there. So like I said, got super into like the data analytics side of things, like with the aircraft and all that. And then started to get a little bit sick. I need like a little bit of excitement, I guess, as I'm that type of person. And so I had some ideas. I started to get really a little bit into DFS back then, maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And, I've always been in like super into season long fantasy sports. I've always been sports betting. I've always been playing poker. And so I actually started a startup company that is basically, it's really funny. It was essentially like Slack, but for like fantasy sports, which is really funny to see. Everyone now uses Discord or Slack or something as like their like, community tool. And back 8 or so years ago, that's what we started building. And so I left my job to do that and did that for a few years. And that kind of sputtered out and obviously wasn't super successful, but it wasn't super successful. I think not because the idea wasn't awesome, but it was because it's really, really, really hard to build one of those things. But through that, I actually got to meet my current boss now, Cal Spears, at RotoGrinders. We kind of talked, and like I said, I met him through that venture, that product that I was building, which ended up leading me into a job at RotoGrinders on the product / project management side of things. And I've been here ever since. And I still do a little bit of like the project side of things, but very, very little. I do mostly content type stuff. I transitioned from product type stuff into like basically full-time content last year on the DFS side of things. So I was like before the best, like I've played best ball since like the draft days. If you guys played, if you remember, since the draft days, which is obviously the Underdog founder and stuff before Underdog. But I was definitely playing. I'm a fantasy football junkie. Like I played college football. Like football is my lifeblood. But I got really heavy into DFS. And so DFS is actually really mainly my background in this space. That was actually where I've had like the most success. And just this summer, it just kind of all clicked for me about this whole best ball thing, and just how much I think it's gonna take off and just really kind of rocket ship. So I just like went all in, and luckily I'm in the position to have bosses and a company that kind of believed in the same thing that I believed in terms of this best ball space, and kind of just let me run with it. And now we're here. Started doing that in May, and now we're here. For DFS, why do you only play 1 to 3 max? I find a huge edge in MME if you know what you're doing. I also find a huge edge in playing limited lineups, smaller fields. It's not. I don't play just like 1 to 3 max contests, but I do play smaller field, higher dollar GPPs, where I think I know better what my opponents are doing, and I have to beat less. I have to beat less people. Yeah, of course, man. Absolutely. I have a weird path. I have a finance degree, and I worked very, very little in finance. I probably know less about finance than any person with a finance degree on the planet. And now I talk about fantasy football for a living. In Showdown, yeah. But I'm not even saying that there's, I talked to Blender. You guys probably know Blender. And we're starting the podcast. I'm coming back on the Theory of DFS podcast next week for DFS season. But I have a like how my brain works and how I've been able to carve out where I think I'm best at and where I make the most money is in basically as high of dollar contests as makes sense for my bankroll or for anyone's bankroll, and as small a field. So like, if I could afford spending $100,000 or whatever, like I would get into this. I want to play in the smallest field that I can and beat the fewest people, because that's what's kind of worked the best for me in DFS. Yes, sir, Hayden. It's a good club. It is funny though, like even when you kind of take, I feel really passionately about taking shots and taking leaps, even in like DFS or like this best ball space or whatever. Like when I've had some big wins in DFS, I'm willing to take some shots here and there. It's luckily worked out for me. So maybe if it hadn't worked out for me, I would not be saying the same thing. But I actually think it like that's the startup thing. Like I didn't get rich off of my startup, but it led me to like, I mean, that's like the dream life, you know what I mean? So it worked out in one way, even if I didn't, even like, when you set out to launch a startup, you think that's the thing that's going to make you rich or whatever. And that is definitely not what happened for me. But it has led me to now sitting on a Wednesday in early September at, I'm in Central Time Zone at 4:50 p.m. drinking a beer and talking fantasy football to people. Like what more can you ask for? All right, we got about 10 more minutes. Did I miss anything? Oh, there was a question. Oh, there was a really, really good question. Yes. Hold on. I got it. It was Jack. Jack had an awesome question. So I've made a lot of mistakes during this offseason, this draft season. And I was actually a little lower on Justin Jefferson. the beginning of the year. Not because like Justin Jefferson is a certified baller, full stop. But in a run first offense, like he did run a little bit hot, like on some, some metrics that I listened to other people much smarter than I talk about, and sure, he should in theory have scored, can score more touchdowns, and the offense is absolutely concentrated. So I wasn't trying to say like Justin Jefferson, he should be a 4th or a 5th round pick. He was valued fairly close to where I think he should be, but I was, like, okay, I do like Irv Smith and I get Adam Thielen, and then they also are going to be run heavy, and you have Dalvin, and you have Dalvin there. It's like I was just a little lower on him compared to maybe some of the other guys that went around him at that time. Sometimes, we got the Devontae Adams falling back there, right? CeeDee Lamb at that time was like a late 3rd round pick. I could get those tight ends, Kittle and Waller at that turn. At the very early in draft season, Antonio Gibson was a late 2nd round pick. Things have definitely changed a ton in terms of ADP and all that. But I was a little bit lower on Jefferson, like to start the year, just like compared to the market. And I say a little bit lower, I mean marginally. But at the top of drafts, when you're marginally lower on a 2nd round pick, you don't get them a ton. Now I'm doing the absolute opposite. No Irv. I don't think that the defense, it can't really get worse than it was last year, but I'm not certain that it's really going to be better, like much better, maybe a little bit better, but I don't think they're like taking big leaps forward. And I mean, as much as I'm happy for my Chris Herndon bags, I mean, there is no one else. And Adam Thielen is not getting any younger. And I like Adam Thielen more now too. But I mean, we talked about the Kamara thing. Every domino fell in a way that gave Kamara a real path to like compete with CMC. I'm not saying he's going to. His median doesn't compete with CMC, but like it gave him a path that you can very easily see now how he competes with CMC. Now everything has broken Justin Jefferson's way to where you're like, oh my God, he could lead the league in targets, and he's really good in his 2nd year. And like, he's a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick. And so I'm trying to get Justin Jefferson right now, basically, is what I'm saying. That's my point. I'm not doing one on stream. I will do a draft with you guys when we're done here. How about that? I will get in the Discord when I sign off, and we can do a puppy draft. I haven't done a puppy 3 draft in a long time. If you want to do best ball mate, whatever you guys want to do, but as soon as I get off here. Oops. Exactly. I agree. I'm not. I mean, I think the Thielen TD regression is true from a per target basis, but I think now with their offense how it is right now, I think Thielen's he has to get more targets unless Jefferson's going to get, gonna like set the all-time record in targets. Thielen has to get more targets too without Irv, or unless maybe I'm underselling how many targets Conklin and Herndon are going to get, or I don't even know. Is Dede Westbrook still on the team? Like, who even is? I don't even know who their other receivers are. I'm trying to pull it up. Side note, does anybody else still type in Roto World when they go to damn, Anthony McFarland's on IR? That sucks. Sorry. Great radio. Jefferson, Dede Westbrook, Amir Smith-Marset, KJ Osborne. Yeah. Anyway, moral of the story. Good Lord. Good Lord. This is bad. KJ Osborne. Amir Smith-Marset is the return man. And they kept this Dan Chisena. They kept this Dan Chisena guy. I have no idea who that is. He's from Penn State. Is he a tight end? I don't know. He's listed as a wide receiver. Anyway, I mean, the upside is crazy. The upside is crazy. It's Jefferson for me now, Jack. I prefer Jefferson to Nuke. Exactly. I totally agree with this, Hayden. It's a talented offense that has proven to be able to be efficient. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Right? Irv is now gone. They are almost assuredly going to regress from that level of efficiency, right? But once you've proven that you can be a certain level of efficiency, that's fine that if you regress, because typically the volume is now going to pick up. Not in every case, right? It's not how it works in every case. I actually have the most concern for Dalvin, because Dalvin did it in such a way that I'm not sure that the regression on the efficiency is able to be made up for through volume, versus Jefferson and Thielen. Thielen particularly is probably going to be less efficient, especially on touchdowns, but he's also probably going to get more targets now. There was reasons before maybe to be a little bit concerned. Maybe that's not right either, but there was maybe some reasons to be concerned about that, including age. It's getting older. But now it's like, I mean, okay, like if your argument is they're going to regress, okay, who are they going to throw the ball to? They're going to regress their rates, but Thielen is going to get 125 targets now or whatever. We just have to. I think we just have to buy mainly Jefferson and Thielen for me. But if you want to use the same logic for Dalvin, I think that's totally fine. Yeah, what the hell, dude? Okay, go to here. I'm gonna do this really right now. We're gonna take care of this right now. There's a Discord link in the chat. I remember there was a time, this was totally my fault, that I forgot to update. The Discord invite link expires, and I forgot to update it. So it's my fault. I apologize. Hayden, what do you think about? Have you given up on Herndon? I think Conklin is interesting too. I was just going through updating some of my teams in my spreadsheet that we just talked about earlier today, and I have a Kittle team that on DraftKings that I got ran out of tight end too. Sometimes the DraftKings drafts are not hard, not easy to gauge. I never have any idea how to figure out when I'm going to be able to get a player. But anyway, I wasn't able to I didn't even take him in the last round. I think I had to take him in the 19th round. But I took Conklin, and this was before Irv got hurt. Oh no. I just want to have a positive day about Chris Herndon for the first time in 3 years. That's all. Jesus, he is tweeting. He's tweeting every minute. Why is he tweeting so much? I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm sharing my screen. Look at this. Look at Connor. 19 minutes ago, 26 minutes ago, 29 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, 32 minutes ago, 37 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, 41 minutes ago, 42 minutes ago, 43 minutes ago. This is like the Awesemo DFS account. Do you guys follow the Awesemo DFS account? It tweets like this, every 2 minutes. Anyway, I would love to find what he said about Chris Herndon. I don't think I want to find what he said about Chris Herndon. Thank you. About time. Okay. Enough Connor Hughes and enough blasphemy about Chris Herndon. It's finally time. It's finally time. Justice to my drafts on draft.com from 2 years ago are finally live. Justice Hill and Chris Herndon. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I didn't take the single tight end plunge, and I took Conklin, and it worked out. Some of us are just sharp. It is, man. Punting tight end is getting gross. It's getting really bad. Which is like kind of how it goes every single year. We pipe dream about these guys breaking out, right? Blake Jarwin's going to break out, or even like the guys who haven't burned us yet are still probably not going to be it, right? Like Cole Kmet's my highest owned tight end. I really like Cole Kmet, but like at the end of the day, the probability is that he's not anything crazy. You know, Irv was a good bet. Even though Irv was a good bet, the probability was still that he's not going to be anything special. It's basically, this is a Kyle Pitts tweet. This is a Kyle Pitts tweet. I missed one thing I want to double back to. Jake says, with CMC, Sermon, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, and Shenault, Russ fell to pick 96. I was stumped and timed out. I have been stumped and timed out multiple times. So don't feel bad about that part of it, and took him. Nope, not a mistake. Go get you some Gerald Everett and Dwayne Eskridge. Which, by the way, they called Dwayne Eskridge goes by D. So I'm now calling him moving forward D Eskridge. But it makes me feel like I'm like it's like you're like reading his like Madden name or whatever, you know, because it just is the first initial and the last name. It makes you feel uncomfortable, but they call him D. It's very weird. But no, you're fine. Pick 96 for Russ, just take it. Stacks and everything are important, but you can backdoor that stack. And if you reach a little bit for Everett, like don't reach 2 rounds for Everett or don't reach 2 rounds for Eskridge. Probably don't even reach a full round, but like you can get the stack with Russ and have this like supercharged team. Like, sure, would you want Metcalf or Lockett? Yeah, of course. But like there are benefits to just having this supercharged team too. And who's to say when the playoffs come around that like Lockett and Metcalf aren't just like okay, and like he throws 2 touchdowns to Everett, right? Week 17 gets here. You get through to week 17 with this team because you built this absolutely supercharged roster with freaking pick 100 Russell Wilson, and you have Eskridge and Everett, and maybe Tyler Lockett gets hurt in the playoffs, and now you just have a total smash. I know we're pipe dreaming totally unrealistic scenarios, but like there's reasons to do the backdoor stack thing, and there's reasons to take a totally falling elite quarterback there, even though you don't have the stack set up. Like I've heard people talk about like, oh, I can't take Josh Allen when he falls in the 6th round because I don't have Stephon Diggs. Like absolutely not. Take Manny Sanders, take Gabriel Davis, take Cole Beasley with him. You know what I mean? So I think you're right. There you go. Easy game. God, I hope, because Parham has become the punt tight end du jour for me. Started with Mo Alley Cox. Had some Troutman very early. Like I said, I do have some Herndon. I should have pulled that up. Some of my first teams, I was so bad at this, guys. You would laugh. I was drafting 3 quarterback, 3 tight end teams, but like punt tight end and punt quarterback was my strategy every time. Like the first like 3 drafts I did, I was like, it's like Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson on like every team, and then like Adam Troutman, Mo Alley-Cox, Chris Herndon. Like my last 6 picks were quarterbacks and tight ends, and I had all running backs and wide receivers before. And those don't look very good right now. Troutman, Mo Alley-Cox, Herndon teams don't look very good. But we got Herndon life. We got Herndon life. And I do feel fine about like Darnold and Zach Wilson and stuff. But that was like my first handful of drafts. I don't know, 3 to 5 drafts. Like I go back and look and I'm like, oh my God. This is just like, what are you doing, dude? What were you doing? What's it? 3, 5, 7, 3. I think I was drafting like 3, 7. So like I would get made fun of now if I did those drafts. Like imagine I did one of these 3, 5, 7, 3 punting quarterback, punting tight end on a stream or something. Like everyone would just, I'd get kicked out of the club. Yeah, man. The only way to figure out how to do this is to like, so here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this when we get to like the off season, do kind of like review pods and like, what did I learn shows and all that bullshit. Right. But like I jump in my first several underdog drafts, 0 research. I hadn't read a thing. I hadn't looked at a single stat. I hadn't listened to a podcast. Nothing. I was just like, let's just hop in Best Ball Mania and like see what I'm like, what I think I should, who do I just have gut feelings on basically? Because obviously I'm following the offseason, right? I follow I watch the NFL draft. Like I follow all this stuff. I watch really close. I'm like, I'm a football fan, but like I just hopped in and you just go for it. And like, I mean, those teams are horrible. They're dead. They're dead teams, but it helped me grow as a drafter. Herndon isn't okay blocker, but he drops passes, lacks explosiveness, and seems disinterested at times. Sounds like the profile of a successful NFL player. Oh God. At least I'm not the only one. My first drafts had this guy on my team. I think all of my first 3 teams, I took Chris Herndon and Mo Alley-Cox because I was really on. And I do feel good about the fact that I was on the Jets. And punting tight end, I think is fine, but it doesn't look. It does. Besides that, Herndon's great. Yeah, I mean, it was such a huge edge. I was looking. I mean, my biggest win was Marquez Callaway, but same thing. I was on Terrace Marshall 100%. I not got into it. That's the wrong way to put it. But I was having a back and forth with someone on Twitter today that was talking about like, this is why I'll, doing the typical thing. Like, this is why I'll never draft early again. And I was like, because okay, backstory. I tweeted out, does anyone have a team with Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne and Michael Thomas and T.Y. Hilton, and all the hurt guys, right? And that's what one guy replies with. This is why I'll never draft early again. Next year, I'm waiting till the end. And I said, this is exactly why I'm going to draft more teams early next year. Because like I go back and look at my teams and like Terrace Marshall was a 17th, 18th round pick. Elijah Moore was a 16th round pick. Marquez, like I said, I think my biggest win in terms of a guy I took a fairly significant stand on was like Marquez Callaway in the 18th round, right?
Now the guy, same thing. Terrace Marshall's like a 10th or 11th round pick now. Marquez Callaway's a 9th or a 10th round pick now. Same thing for Elijah. Same thing for Rondale Moore. Trey Lance was going in the 14th round, right? I didn't know what I was doing back then, but I did start to figure it out and landed on the guys that like we just have insane value on. And that doesn't even like start to take into account. Darrell Henderson was a 12th or 13th round pick. I was going through, DK was a little softer when I first started drafting. My first Darrell Henderson team was 14th round Darrell Henderson on DraftKings. And you get Darrell Henderson teams, you get Gus Edwards teams, you get James, you get all this closing line value on all these guys. It's like you have like all-star squads that you drafted early. Like you have to suffer through the Cam Akers teams and the J.K. Dobbins teams and I wasn't really on Dobbins. I was on Akers. You have to suffer through the Michael Thomas. Like you just suffered through those. Like you're going to punt off money. But you have other teams that are just far, far, far superior to the rest of the 150,000 teams in Best Ball Mania 2. So, yeah. Bingo, Wallace. One guy, I can't find my damn, my best Devontae teams. But somebody posted in one of my threads that they have CMC Devontae, I think it was DK Metcalf at the turn. It's like CMC DK Metcalf, Devontae Adams. And he got Lockett at the 4, then got Lockett back at the 4-5 turn, got Seahawks that like just silly stuff. Mixon going in the 3rd, Zeke going in like the middle of the 2nd. There's tons of these examples, right? Like tons. T. Higgins used to go way later. One of my favorites was that like people don't care about as much. Like the first share I took of Cooper Kupp was that pick like 62. Cooper Kupp. And that's not even a guy that you would think would be a riser and a faller. But like Cooper Kupp went that late. The market was just off. It was just wrong on like tons of guys. Exact same point. Part of the reason why I don't have much Dobbins, if Dobbins was going in the 4th or 5th, maybe I would have sprinkled them in some. But when we first started drafting, Dobbins was going in the 2nd round. So like I don't have J.K. Dobbins. I'm sorry that J.K. Dobbins got hurt. That J.K. Dobbins is a baller of a player. And like it really, really sucks, for NFL that he got hurt, but I was never taking it. What a perfect example. Pre-draft is even crazier. Which pre-draft, I remember watching Hayden. I think you and Josh did one with Leone, where like you ended up taking. I think it was ETN or somebody like that. It might not have been you guys, so apologies if it wasn't. But I watched a pre-draft stream once that. But to that exact point, if you do something pre-draft, now it's even crazier, right? We knew Kyle Pitts was a superstar, and he's going in the 8th round, 9th round of drafts. And he lands in Atlanta. And we also could probably project him to Atlanta. Now they had Julio, which is a little bit of a different scenario, but like the profit potential, even if Julio was there in the 9th round, is ridiculous. So like, I feel more passionately now than ever, especially that we've gotten these like additional puppies and stuff that like in the top heavy, huge field, where like the payoff is crazy and it lasts over the course of the whole off season, right? Best Ball Mania 2 is so big and at a price point that it's never going to fill very fast versus a puppy, right? We can fill a $5 puppy really fast because it's just only $5 and it's only going to be so big. So we can fill it in we fill what, puppy 1 or puppy 2 in a week or both of them in a week. But Best Ball Mania 2 is just never going to fill that. I want my Best Ball Mania 2 bullets next year. I don't want to be think I have like 40 left. I don't want to be thinking about them anymore. because I could just be doing all my puppy 3 drafts now. Like I'm foregoing puppy 3, which I actually think is better because I want to max Best Ball Mania 2. But like, I'm actually even like kind of, as we're talking about this, like rethinking that idea, because all my best teams are done in Best Ball Mania 2. It's not that I can't still get plus EV teams because, you know, my competition and all that kind of thing. But there are also other contests for me to get that advantage in. When I started the summer, I thought, okay, Best Ball Mania 2 is basically it. Maybe something else will be out there, but basically Best Ball Mania 2 was like it, you know, because I didn't know what this whole thing, none of us really foresaw 3 puppies and like, you know, $10 million in prize pools. And so I think in a contest like Best Ball Mania 2 next year, it's going to probably be like multi-million to first place. And I want to be out in front of all this. So yeah, I mean, the examples go on forever, right? Like MVS went in the last round. Like some people wouldn't even draft MVS. And like, God forbid, like Hayden's saying, like in the pre-draft is total anarchy. You know, that too. I did like 4 rookies and sophomores drafts, and I regret it, but I'm looking forward to it for next year. Yeah, there's definitely that's every tournament though. There's handicap teams and tons of landmines. Amari is a good one. Amari's really fluctuated just like a ton. Yeah. So for anyone that didn't like follow, you know, the very first article I did this entire best ball season was at the beginning of May on Roto-Grinders before we even started Spike Week. Was like, I sat back and thought about how I think I should attack this summer of drafts. And at that point, if we look, like now it seems silly, but when I look back at early May, when I thought Best Ball Mania 2 was like it, I'm like, I'm going to do 150 drafts into Best Ball Mania 2. There's not going to be any other contest. I know DraftKings is going to have something, but I don't really care about that. Like, how do I attack these 150 entries? Because that's my 150 entries into these. That's my 150 underdog best ball teams, period. So I was like, I want to get a ton early. Basically, my cutoff was basically like before training camp started. I wanted it to be in the times when we didn't know anything, right? Because we were able, all the examples you guys gave and the examples that I gave about the guys that shoot way up, like those only exist because of the uncertainty. And then I know that I'm going to have dead teams, but I'm also going to have Darrell Henderson teams and Gus Edwards teams and James Robinson teams and Marquez Callaway teams, right? I'm going to have all these teams that benefit from injury. And so my thought was, let me get half of them then and half of them like really close to when the season's going to start now where we are right now. And like that combination of things, because right now is when, in theory, the worst players are drafting, right? My competition is not very good. So like I can just draft, you know, the chalk teams. I can just draft well and beat these guys now and advance more teams, but I don't have the upside that those early teams had. Now I look back and I see like, well, if I had known that I was going to always have these new puppy drafts coming for me to take advantage of that skill edge later, if I want to maximize my chance at 1 million, I'm just give me all 150, you know, before camp starts, or, you know, at least like maybe some during camp, but I don't want to be drafting Best Ball Mania 2 right now. Like I'm totally fine dealing with the camp cut variants and like the injury variants and all that. I want the upside. So that's where that was a lesson learned for me, but I don't think anybody I mean, maybe Hayden knew and he was hiding it from us. All right, guys. 20 minutes over. This was incredibly fun conversation. I really appreciate you guys every single time we talk. Ton of fun. I'm not naming my teams. but I have a spreadsheet. I think we talked about it before you got here, brother. I have a spreadsheet of all my teams, and I know basically when they were drafted. Tomorrow, I will be back. I'm trying to finish up this Kyle Pitts article. I think it's talking about kind of, Pat Kerrane has this idea of basically like legendary upside as it pertains to running backs that I think is just absolutely invaluable content to read. And I've been thinking through this legendary upside as it pertains to specific scenarios playing out. The first one I wrote about was the Titans. And, if something were ever to happen to Derrick Henry, not even necessarily, that he blows out his knee, but just maybe he's not Derrick Henry anymore. And what that means for the Titans. The next one I'm writing about right now that I'm hopefully going to get out there tomorrow is basically that Kyle Pitts is Calvin Johnson. We have this idea about what we think with rookie tight ends. And my thought is, if Kyle Pitts is rookie Calvin Johnson as a tight end, what does that mean? What does that mean for the fantasy landscape? And I think it's a really interesting way to view some things with these types of scenarios. But before that, tomorrow, oh God, I'm going to screw it up because I don't remember exactly what time we're going. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll post it on Twitter. Peter Overzet, the ship chasing king, the streaming king, he's been drafting for a million days in a row now, is going to join me, and we're going to draft the Best Ball Mania 2 team. And that's about that. You guys are probably sick of seeing me and sick of seeing Peter at this point, if we're being totally honest. But you get to suck it up through one more draft between the two of us. But you guys are awesome. As Hayden says, like and subscribe. Thank you guys for making the content is fun for me. I'm just hanging out with you guys, having a good time. So for me, for all you guys, for Run the Bases, for Hayden, for Go Bloor, for Nick, for my dogs, and for apparently my wife that you guys think is funny on Twitter, but please do not tell her. I will see you guys